Hi everyone, and welcome back to Speak English Today. In today's episode, I have something very special for you. I'm going to teach you one of the best ways to improve your English speaking and listening skills. It's called shadowing. Shadowing is a scientifically proven technique that helps improve fluency, pronunciation, and even your accent. So here's how we'll do it today. You'll hear a sentence first. Your job is simple. Just listen carefully. Then, after you've listened, you'll repeat the sentence. We'll start with simple sentences and then gradually move on to longer and more complex ones. But you're not just repeating words, you're copying the rhythm, the intonation, and the feeling of the speaker. In today's episode, we'll be practicing shadowing with sentences about everyday situations. These are very useful words and phrases for daily life. This episode is designed especially for beginning-level learners, but if you're an intermediate learner, you'll still get a lot out of it. Shadowing will help you improve your accent, your pronunciation, and your fluency. So when you repeat, don't just say the words. Try to copy the way I say them, the speed, the tone, the rhythm. That's the secret of shadowing. And don't worry if it's not perfect the first time. You can always listen again and try again. So, get ready, relax your mouth, take a deep breath, and let's begin. This morning, I woke up to the sound of rain. This morning, I woke up to the sound of rain. The drops tapped gently on my window. The drops tapped gently on my window. It was soft, calm. It was soft, calm. I opened my eyes slowly. I opened my eyes slowly. The room was cold. The room was cold. The light was grey. The light was grey. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to get up. I pulled the blanket close. I pulled the blanket close. My body felt heavy. My body felt heavy. My heart felt tired. My heart felt tired. I stared at the ceiling. I stared at the ceiling. I listened to the rain. I listened to the rain. It reminded me of quiet mornings when I was a child. It reminded me of quiet mornings when I was a child. Back then, the rain felt safe. Back then, the rain felt safe. Now, it feels a little lonely. Now, it feels a little lonely. But also calm. But also calm. I sat up in bed. I sat up in bed. I looked out the window. I looked out the window. The streets were wet. The streets were wet. The sky was full of grey clouds. The sky was full of grey clouds. Everything was quiet. Everything was quiet. No people. No cars. Just rain. No people. No cars. Just rain. I took a deep breath. I took a deep breath. Maybe today could be different. Maybe today could be different. Maybe I could try. Maybe I could try. I walked to the kitchen. I walked to the kitchen. My feet were cold on the floor. My feet were cold on the floor. The apartment was silent. The apartment was silent. I lived alone. I lived alone. I turned on the light. I turned on the light. The yellow glow felt warm. The yellow glow felt warm. I made some tea. I made some tea. I watched the steam rise. I watched the steam rise. I liked that part. I liked that part. The smell was soft and sweet. The smell was soft and sweet. I took a sip. I took a sip. It was hot. It was hot. It woke me up a little. It woke me up a little. I sat at the table. I sat at the table. I didn't check my phone. I didn't check my phone. I just sat there. I just sat there. I looked around the kitchen. I looked around the kitchen. It was quiet. It was quiet. It was clean. It was clean. But it felt empty. But it felt empty. There was a photo on the fridge. There was a photo on the fridge. Me and my sister. Me and my sister. We were laughing. We were laughing. That was a good day. That was a good day. I miss her. I miss her. I thought about calling her. I thought about calling her, but I didn't. But I didn't. Not yet. Not yet. Instead, I made some toast. Instead, I made some toast. I ate slowly. I ate slowly. I looked out the window. I looked out the window. The rain hadn't stopped. The rain hadn't stopped, but it didn't feel so heavy now. But it didn't feel so heavy now. Maybe today I'll go outside. Maybe today I'll go outside. Maybe today I'll do something new. Maybe today I'll do something new. I left the house in a hurry. I left the house in a hurry. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still wet. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still wet. My shoes splashed through small puddles. My shoes splashed through small puddles. I turned the corner and saw the bus stop. I turned the corner and saw the bus stop. The bus was already there. The bus was already there. I started to run. I started to run. But it was too late. But it was too late. I saw the bus pulling away. I saw the bus pulling away. It turned the corner and disappeared. It turned the corner and disappeared. I stopped and caught my breath. I stopped and caught my breath. I sighed and looked at the sky. I sighed and looked at the sky. The clouds were still heavy. The clouds were still heavy. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to be angry. But I told myself to stay calm. But I told myself to stay calm. There would be another bus. There would be another bus. I stood at the bus stop alone. I stood at the bus stop alone. The wind was cold and sharp. The wind was cold and sharp. I wrapped my coat tighter around me. I wrapped my coat tighter around me. Then I heard a soft voice. Then I heard a soft voice. "Excuse me, dear," the woman said. "Excuse me, dear," the woman said. She was holding an umbrella. She was holding an umbrella. "You look like you need this more than I do. You look like you need this more than I do." I blinked, surprised. I blinked, surprised. She smiled warmly. She smiled warmly. "Thank you, that's very kind. Thank you, that's very kind." She handed me the umbrella. She handed me the umbrella. Her hands were wrinkled and gentle. Her hands were wrinkled and gentle. We stood together, quietly. We stood together, quietly. The bus stop didn't feel so lonely anymore. The bus stop didn't feel so lonely anymore. She told me about her granddaughter. She told me about her granddaughter. I listened and nodded. I listened and nodded. We both smiled at the little things. We both smiled at the little things. When the bus arrived, I thanked her again. When the bus arrived, I thanked her again. She waved goodbye. She waved goodbye. The umbrella felt like more than just a gift. The umbrella felt like more than just a gift. I found a seat by the window. I found a seat by the window. The glass was cool against my hand. The glass was cool against my hand. Raindrops slid down in slow races. Raindrops slid down in slow races. People got on and off the bus. People got on and off the bus. Some with umbrellas, some with umbrellas. Some just wet and silent. Some just wet and silent. People looked tired, just like me. People looked tired, just like me. A man in a suit stared at his phone. A man in a suit stared at his phone. An old woman clutched her shopping bag. An old woman clutched her shopping bag. A child giggled at the raindrops. A child giggled at the raindrops. He pressed his nose to the window. He pressed his nose to the window. His joy felt like sunlight. His joy felt like sunlight. I looked around and realized something. I looked around and realized something. Everyone here had a story. Everyone here had a story. Everyone was in their own little world. Everyone was in their own little world. I got off the bus and walked down the street. I got off the bus and walked down the street. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. I turned into a small coffee shop. I turned into a small coffee shop. It was warm in here. I like that. It was warm in here. I like that. The smell of coffee and fresh bread filled the air. The smell of coffee and fresh bread filled the air. Soft music played in the background. Soft music played in the background. The barista looked up and smiled. The barista looked up and smiled. Morning, Maya. The usual. Morning, Maya. The usual. I nodded. A cappuccino, please. Just the usual. I nodded. A cappuccino, please. Just the usual. He began making it while we chatted. He began making it while we chatted. How's your morning? He asked. How's your morning? He asked. A little rainy, but I'm okay now. A little rainy, but I'm okay now. I took my drink and found a seat by the window. I took my drink and found a seat by the window. The chair was soft and the cup was warm. The chair was soft and the cup was warm. I took a slow sip and let myself relax. I took a slow sip and let myself relax. The world outside kept moving, but I felt still. The world outside kept moving, but I felt still. I opened my bag and took out my sketchbook. I opened my bag and took out my sketchbook. It wasn't just for drawing. It wasn't just for drawing. Sometimes I wrote in it. Sometimes I wrote in it. Little thoughts, random moments. Little thoughts, random moments. I flipped through the pages slowly. I flipped through the pages slowly. Smudges of pencil, dried flowers, a train ticket. Smudges of pencil, dried flowers, a train ticket. Then I saw something tucked between the pages. Then I saw something tucked between the pages. A folded note, small and soft at the edges. A folded note, small and soft at the edges. I opened it gently. I opened it gently. It was from my friend Alina. It was from my friend Alina. She moved away last year. She moved away last year. Her handwriting danced across the paper. Her handwriting danced across the paper. You're stronger than you know it, said. You're stronger than you know, it said. I'm always with you. I'm always with you. I held the note to my chest. I held the note to my chest. Tears welled in my eyes. Tears welled in my eyes. I miss her. I really do. I miss her. I really do. She always knew how to make me smile. She always knew how to make me smile. Even now, it felt like she was here. Even now, it felt like she was here. My phone buzzed softly on the table. My phone buzzed softly on the table. It was my mum. It was my mum. I picked it up and smiled. I picked it up and smiled. Hey, sweetheart, she said. Hey, sweetheart, she said. How are you feeling today, sweetie? How are you feeling today, sweetie? I leaned back in my chair. I leaned back in my chair. Tired, but I'm okay, I said. Tired, but I'm okay, I said. There was a pause, soft and kind. There was a pause, soft and kind. You're doing your best. That's enough. You're doing your best. That's enough. We talked about little things. We talked about little things. Groceries, the weather, a funny show she watched. Groceries, the weather, a funny show she watched. Then she said it, like she always did. Then she said it, like she always did. I love you, you know. I love you, you know. I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes. I love you too. I love you too. Even through the phone, her voice was a hug. Even through the phone, her voice was a hug. And just like that, I felt a little lighter. And just like that, I felt a little lighter. The rain had finally stopped. The rain had finally stopped. Maya stepped off the bus and looked up. Maya stepped off the bus and looked up. The sky was still cloudy, but lighter now. The sky was still cloudy, but lighter now. Puddles reflected the trees and the buildings. Puddles reflected the trees and the buildings. Everything smelled fresh. Like the world had been washed clean. Everything smelled fresh. Like the world had been washed clean. She took a deep breath and smiled. She took a deep breath and smiled. There was something peaceful about this moment. There was something peaceful about this moment. The city felt quieter, softer. The city felt quieter, softer. People walked by, holding umbrellas and coffees. People walked by, holding umbrellas and coffees. She walked slowly, noticing little things. She walked slowly, noticing little things. A flower blooming through a sidewalk crack. A flower blooming through a sidewalk crack. A man playing guitar on a corner. A man playing guitar on a corner. A dog shaking off rain near its owner. A dog shaking off rain near its owner. A new day was starting. A new day was starting. And it didn't feel so heavy anymore. And it didn't feel so heavy anymore. When Maya arrived at work, she felt different. When Maya arrived at work, she felt different. Her clothes were still a little damp. Her clothes were still a little damp. But her heart wasn't. But her heart wasn't. She walked into the building and said hello to the receptionist. She walked into the building and said hello to the receptionist. A small smile returned with another. A small smile returned with another. She hung her coat and sat at her desk. She hung her coat and sat at her desk. Then she opened her laptop and paused. Then she opened her laptop and paused. She thought about the kind stranger. She thought about the kind stranger. About the barista's friendly voice. About the barista's friendly voice. The sound of her mum's voice. The sound of her mum's voice. The smell of rain. The smell of rain. And the giggling child on the bus. And the giggling child on the bus. Today didn't start easy, but I'm okay now. Today didn't start easy, but I'm okay now. Sometimes a little rain is what we need. Sometimes a little rain is what we need. She took one more deep breath and got to work. She took one more deep breath and got to work, ready for the rest of the day. Ready for the rest of the day.